love bugs. Y'all already know it's your favorite queen of hearts, your girl, lady to the LIPS, and I am with one of my favorite people. Thank you for joining us. It is Saturday, January 21st, 2023. And I am going to let her introduce herself, and then we're going to tell you what the topic is, because I think it's so timely and coming right in the perfect month.
So I'm Shay. I'll leave it there. I've been Vi's friend for over 22 years, maybe. She calls me Max, a.k.a. Frister. And I'm excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you.
This is the moment I've been waiting for.
Thank you.
So Shay, yes, we call each other Fristers because we're friends, but I really look up to her like a big sister. And she is one of my most insightful, thoughtful, self-reflecting, mature, wise, always gives excellent advice. And I couldn't do this segment and not have her join. And I always give my guests the option to pick their topic. And I had one totally. I was like, Shay, I would love to do this other topic with you. She's like, okay. And she sat on it. And she's like, I know what I want to do. What did you decide to do, Shay?
Self-love and self-care.
Yes. And there's a reason for that, because Shay and I both decided to embark on a journey, a therapy journey. And I've been going since 2015. So with this year be what?
3 years for me next week.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And we both really are learning and growing and enjoying this journey we're on. And I just think with the new year and people have a new me mindset, new concept, what way to start off 2023 than to pour into yourself. And we're going to get into what self-care looks like, what self-love really means, how we got on our journey of therapy, the benefits, any downsides or any side effects, so to speak. And we just want you guys to really, self-reflect on this. It's funny because I was catching up on my podcast that I support for others, and Tyrell Hughes, shout out to you from the Back community, he had a gentleman on, and the gentleman had a really good comment. He said, he started therapy. And he was like, Black people, we need therapy. We have a lot of trauma. He was like, we just make it look good. Like, we handle it well. We really shine in it, even though we're hurting behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
And I thought that was so imperative. And I was like, therapy should totally be hereditary. Like, that should be something passed down from generation to generation. So when you started 3 years ago, tell us, what prompted you to be like, I'm going to join this therapy train?
So I think, I always loved myself, but I wasn't cognizant of what level that I love myself. I think that there's different levels, right? And so as I was growing and wanted to change and be a better person, I then found myself like in I was suffocating a little bit. Like I couldn't find direction. I wanted to cope better. I wanted to communicate better. I wanted to have more impulse control. And all of those are things that I think would help me grow to further help me understand and love myself. So that for me is what prompted that journey.
I love it.
Yes.
And you spoke about self-care and self-love. And I think some people might look at it as one and the same, synonymous. Some people might say absolutely they're two different things, mutually exclusive. How would you define self-care, and then we'll define self-love, and then maybe our audience could gather whether or not they're one and the same.
Okay. So I'm going to start with self-love, because self-love is a feeling and self-care is an act.
I love it.
Right? So when we love something or we admire something, we take care of it. Right? And that's why I said it's levels. Right? The deeper you love yourself, I think the deeper the acts are. So again, I loved myself, I took care of myself, so to speak, but it was a level. And so when I became aware, like, I could love myself a little bit deeper, I could put more into me. That's when I decided, I'm going to do therapy to help me get there.
I love that distinction.
Yeah.
Love is the feeling and care is the action.
Yes.
Yes. And because to love yourself is to take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
And when we take care of ourselves, we love ourselves.
Absolutely.
So it really is a circle and a cycle.
Yes.
And it's like we go to the doctors once a year. We go to our GYNs once a year. Ophthalmologists, like, we do that. Why not incorporate this mental wealth?
Absolutely.
And contribute to our mental health by learning about ourselves, our triggers, what that may be stemming from. What do you think was your biggest aha moment or takeaway when you first started pursuing therapy? Was it hard for you to adjust to at first? What were some challenges or
So
takeaways?
I interviewed a few people because I interviewed my
Yes.
therapist because you're going to be so vulnerable, right? And these are people who are going to guide you to help you be your best self, right? So I needed that vibe, right? I just needed it. So I went to a couple, and the intake was like, okay. And so I said, yeah, no, I'm going to still search. So I called someone. She was an African American woman. So I felt like I needed therapy to reflect who I was, right? You can have a therapist of another, race or gender, but for me, it needed to be a black woman. It's a feeling inside of you, right? It's certain traumatic experiences and certain things that they may be aware of in their own family, right? That just gives that therapy for me a deeper level.
Yeah.
That guidance and those suggestions and that listening ear. So instantly I walked in there and we started intake, and it just felt natural. My first day of therapy, it was engaging right from the start. And I knew I had found the person that I was like, I'm going to be able to work well with her. And we had a lot of things in common too. Like major issues that I was coming to her for, she had experience or somebody in her family experienced. So it was just perfect, and that's how.
Love it.
Yeah.
Now, when you interviewed the first couple of people, were they reflective of your race and gender?
No.
Okay.
So I wanted to make an informed decision, right?
Okay.
So I said, I'm going to try a white woman. I even went into a man.
Okay.
I definitely went into that with hesitation because I think of just issues that I needed to work on. And so I was like, that definitely isn't going to work. And I probably wasn't going to make it work anyway because I already came in with this preconceived, right? So, but the white woman, I was a little more open, right? And she was good, and she made me feel comfortable, but it was just something missing. Like, it wasn't natural, you know? And so I was like, okay, I'll put her on the list, right?
Yeah. But
something just propelled me to say, nope, I'm going to look some more. And so when I called her, she said, actually, you're my last slot. And I said,
look at God.
Look at him. Look at him showing out for me and my growth, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I really gotta work, And then when I went in and it was just so organic from the start, it was great.
Do you think seeing that she was a black woman and after having the experience with the other two individuals, do you think that automatically made you comfortable? Or just as soon as y'all got to talking and vibing, it was like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be?
No, it was the talking and it was the vibing.
Okay.
Right? Because although I wanted somebody to reflect me physically, I guess, if you will, it still was a hesitation there in general.
Okay.
So it absolutely was the vibe. It was her demeanor. It was her calmness. It was the way she got me to open up and engage, because I was so closed, And so for my first visit with her to be so open, like I was like, this is all the things I want to do.
Yeah.
So it was that. It wasn't necessarily, it was great that, in fact she was, a black woman, but it still was a level of reservation.
Right. So that's good. So you said you just wanted to get basically a deeper dive into Shay.
Yes.
And who you were and what you're going through, and that's essentially what prompted you to go to therapy. Since you've been going, what do you feel like was like, when did you self-reflect and be like, this is what I needed. This is the moment that defined, I'm glad I took that first step.
I don't think I had an aha moment.
Okay.
I think it's me reflecting the way I felt after every visit, right? So I went into, even though I was comfortable with her, there's still, even to this day, 3 years, there's still that level of angst, right, and anxiety when it first started. But after I leave my sessions, I just feel so lighter.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I journal, so I'll pull my journal out and we'll go over things, and it just gives me direction to keep going, and to work on things or speak on things that I, needed to work on that I've journaled. So I think it's that, like, I needed that, like my soul feeling cleansed and good.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like the fact that my therapist reflects me too, because I just feel like our journey as black people, it's not indicative for other races. Like, it's not the same.
It's not.
They may have experienced similar, but it's not the same. I mean, we deal with mass incarceration. We deal with identity issues sometimes. Being in a room, being in a professional place, wondering if I'm enough, if people are judging us. Like, all of that really stacks and builds on top of how we see ourselves every day.
Yes.
And I just feel like to have somebody with the credentials and the experience and the education to be able to be like, no, what you're feeling is very valid.
Yes.
You know, I went through that, or my sister went through that, where I watched my mom do X, Y, and Z, whereas a Hispanic or a Caucasian would probably be like, I'm not really sure. Are you interested in the med? I know you feel a little depressed. Like, they would go to a different level where you just want somebody to relate and tell you it's okay to feel how you feel.
Right. Yes. And even you might have someone of a different race, have someone that's incarcerated. It's still different. I feel like the experience is still different, you know. So although we can relate, I think the feeling behind it is different, which adds to the way they can direct you and the way they can really understand how you feel. And I say, you want a med? Like, she told me day one, I don't write prescriptions. And I was like, okay, you know. So I didn't come here for that. I really came to talk and heal in a natural way, you know. But yeah, that for me wouldn't have been a route anyway.
Okay,
so that might have even had me a little hesitant going further if I had a therapist to say, you want something for depression?
Well, my therapist did.
Like, no, I want you to talk me off the ledge first, right? Let's
don't self-medicate. Let me just work through this.
Yeah.
But I like that because I think the way I was feeling, and I literally cried every session. So I think she was just like, what? Do you think this was? Like, probably just going through the motion of what they normally prescribe to patients experiencing what I was experiencing. I was like, I'm not a med taker. I just don't. I was like, so what else you got for me? We tried breathing exercises. I was like, this is not working. What else you got for me? She's like, well, won't you start journaling? I said, I write for fun. I don't want to write anymore. She said, okay, well, we'll just go. So I wasn't trying to sabotage, but it was important for me to communicate what my comforts were.
Absolutely.
And I think that is really good in building the relationship with our therapist. And I know you said you went in and you felt the comfort and you was able to just roll down your list. What if you would have went into that first visit and didn't get that immediate comfort? Do you think you would have went again and gave it more tries?
Yes, I think for her I would have, right?
For her,
right? And I don't know because, right, we can sometimes, even when we're trying to help us, you know, maybe she was just trying to gauge and let me get comfortable first, right? So, but she automatically made me comfortable. Everyone might not get that vibe,
right?
You know what I mean? So I would have looked at it like maybe she just wanted to see what I was gonna do the first visit, you know. But I think I would have definitely gave it a try because at that point it was like 3 people in. You know, I've tried different things, so and I know this is a journey I need to do. So that's where the work comes in too. Right? On both parts. Your therapist, like you said, you go in and you cry. No, hon, I'm going to need you to do that work. And if this may be, very well be the only time I do cry, because I don't get to cry at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't get to cry at work, you know? So, her feeling uncomfortable, maybe in every session she's crying. Is she depressed? No, I'm getting all this 40-something years worth of trauma off my system. I need to cry. You know what I mean?
Even if I am depressed, right? That I'm in the right place for that.
Absolutely.
Because who wouldn't be depressed when you go through things, when you experience things, when you feel things that just aren't good? You know what I'm saying? I think we need to give ourselves the space and the patience and the grace to be like, I'm not okay sometimes.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. What I do love is about having therapy is that it's a neutral person, right? I know people be like, well, what you need therapy for? You could have talked to me, or you got friends, you know, you got family. And it's like, no, because when people are going through their own trauma, they can't always give you objective, unbiased, impartial advice. Because now they're thinking about things that when they went through and how they handle it, and it might not have been healthy at all.
Absolutely.
In any way.
Yes.
So it's like, I don't want to get stuck, you know, listening to you. And then we burn people out, right? It's like, who wants to hear about your problems every day when I'm focused on mine? So, your therapists get paid to hear problems.
Absolutely.
And one time I had to ask my therapist, like, how do you listen to trouble all day?
Yes.
And she was like, I take care of myself. And I interpret that to mean, I later learned that therapists actually have to have therapists themselves.
Why not? That's a lot of trauma dumping every day.
Exactly.
Are you kidding?
Exactly.
You know?
What would you say to somebody who wants to pursue therapy, but they might have somebody in their circle or their corner who discourages it, who talks down about it, and who, dismisses it? Like, nah, you don't need that shit. They ain't just want to, hear your business, or you don't need to be telling anybody your business. Like, what if there's somebody listening who's like, yo, I've been wanting to do that, but, I know it's not well received in my family or the black community. And
So it's the stigma, of course. That kind of held me back, right? I think I may have pursued it a lot sooner had I not probably fed into the stigma. But I say you had a good point, right? And I made a post about this. As family members, like you said, we're biased, right? And then someone like me, I'm very passionate, right? So my tone, my words, they might not come across the way that a therapist, right? So you're going to shut down the minute I'm yelling or I'm passionate about it, and you're not going to get any resolve, and very biased. You talk to your mom about things, no, babe, it's going to be okay, and but I say that is a part of the self-love. Right? That is where you're on a level. And if it is coming to your mind that I think I want to try it, you go ahead and try it. Right? And you'll be surprised, right? That the people who probably was like, that's not going to work, that's whatever. Once you start engaging in therapy and changing the way you move and changing the way you respond and changing the way you love yourself, they are going to then
Take notice.
Right? And they're going to handle you accordingly. And they might, even if it's at a turtle's pace, they might then start to change how they deal in their daily life.
Right. Or even perceive the thought of pursuing therapy.
Absolutely.
Like, wow, she was a firecracker. Now she's so mellow and chill, and she doesn't respond the way we used to her responding, or he doesn't, come off the way he used to come. Like, I want some of that.
Yeah. I say be a leader. And take charge of you. Everything, self-love, self-care is all about you.
Yes.
So be a leader. I don't think no one will disown you for going to therapy. Like if you have that family member or that friend saying, don't go, and you go, I can't say, I'm not going to talk to you no more because you go to therapy.
Exactly.
And also too, I still was a little reserved with things I shared. Even though she was comfortable and I did share a lot, there were certain things that I held back and said, I'm going to wait a little bit till maybe month 6 or month 3 before I tell her this.
Why is that? Speak to that a little bit. And did you ever get over that?
I think, for me, I was like, okay, I'm going to give these doses of things that I do want resolved and I do want to work on, and I'm going to see how she directs me. I'm going to see, my therapist gives me homework. She'd be like, your homework is this, right? So as I was giving her those little things, I'm like, ooh, she giving me homework to do this. I'm going to hold on to this for a little minute. Because that I know is going to require a lot of work, and she's going to make me put that work in.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, it's just, I lost my train of thought. But just going to therapy, I think, is literally all about yourself. You will be so surprised how good you feel.
Yeah.
It's just, it's what you tell your mind is what you believe.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
One, we keep talking about self, right? And I want to talk about, is self-care and self-love selfish? I'm going to come back to that.
Okay.
But prior to you actually taking the action steps to pursue therapy, did you have any reluctance? And if you did, what got you over that hump?
I think really the conversation with you, I tell you all the time. Yes. I remember coming home one day, and I was just, like I said, I felt suffocated. Like I felt like I had no direction. Like it was something that was stopping me. I was almost abandoning myself a little bit. Like, I was not showing up for myself. I was not just healthy mentally, And so I remember calling you and telling you, things that I had going on. And you was like, Shay, try therapy. If you don't like it, fine, but at least you tried it. And that is part of self-love, right? I had to say, let me try it for me, and see if it works. You know what I mean? And so that was what really, put the stamp on it, So people around you can inspire you to do things, right? Without even knowing. Like, you've been to therapy longer than me, right? And I know you were going and you were keeping your sessions and you would tell me about, certain things. And I was like, and then seeing you, right, blossom, right? And I was like, It gotta be. It
It's
gotta
working
work.
for her.
I gotta get in the world. I gotta get in the world. You know what I'm saying? I gotta try
But
it.
she was on some shit. I don't mind. I don't mind.
But yeah, so it was me, saying, okay, what can I do? And there was no other option but therapy. Maybe I just needed somebody to say it to me. And I, as I know, am the only one in my family that goes to therapy. So be that leader.
Be that leader. Yeah.
Be that leader to say, I love myself. I am in a rut, and there is nothing that my mom, my sisters, nobody in my family could do to help me get out of it. It has to be something that I need to do.
Absolutely.
And that's what did it.
And it's never too late to start.
No.
As long as you have air in your lungs and you have life in your body and you have a desire to move about each day, seek therapy. Yes. I don't care how old you are. I think children could get therapy. They go through trauma, whether it be bullying, whether it be a sudden death of a parent or a loved one. Even if you're older and you're like, I'm 70, 60, I'm too old for that. No.
Yes.
No, because the best of your years can be the rest of your years.
Absolutely.
So why still live through that?
Yeah.
I love that you said you weren't showing up for yourself. Can you expound on that a little bit? What does that mean? If somebody's like, damn, do I show up for myself? How do I know if I'm not showing up for myself? What did that look like? So
for me, I suppressed a lot, right? I didn't deal with things that I probably should have and in a timely manner that I should have. And once you start suppressing those things, it's hard to revisit them, right? So I found that they were coming out, I was deflecting, and it was coming out in unhealthy ways. My communication was not the best. I'm automatically loud. So when I'm passionate or I'm misunderstood or I feel loud, I'm more loud. And everybody who knows me know I'm a cusser. Right? I'm a trucker mouth. So the more intense and the more passionate, I'm going to cuss you out. Right? And so I knew that all of those things were not helping. I was not showing up being my best self. Right? I did not want. So what was on the inside was not reflecting on the outside. And I now know that is because throughout my life journeys, I was building up these defense mechanisms, right? Suppressing who I truly was, my soul truly was, because I had to develop this survival, So not showing up for myself, that wasn't me. That was not myself.
You're an imposter.
Yeah, yeah, that was my surviving. That was me surviving, and not me really living and being loving thyself and being true to thyself. Thyself is for me my soul, the inner workings, and I was not doing that.
I love that. Yeah. Can self-love and self-care be interpreted as selfish?
I guess it depends on who's calling you selfish, because if everyone is cognizant of needing self-love and taking care of themselves, then they wouldn't say it's selfish. So if somebody's calling self-love selfish, that's because they're not loving themselves on the level that you are.
And I think it's okay to be selfish.
Absolutely.
At times.
Yes.
I don't think enough of us are selfish enough. A lot of us are selfless in a lot of ways all the time for a lot of people. And at some point, in order to perform self-care, and in order to feel self-love, we have to have a level of selfishness, because otherwise we could be giving and giving and giving and just constantly depleting ourselves.
Yes. So you can't pour from an empty cup. They tell you that all the time.
That's right.
And again, it was times where, being home, I was just like so over it. Like, don't call my name again. I don't want to do anything but go in my room, close the door, be in the dark, and whatever that means. Scrolling aimlessly, just laying there like you need a moment. And then I come out and be like, okay, now what we having for dinner, guys?
And that was after therapy that you learned to take a moment for yourself.
Right. So, I was completely empty. I was not being selfish enough. Like, I had my moments where, today is my day. Yeah. But not enough. It wasn't frequent enough. It wasn't routine and consistent enough.
Let's stick to that routine and consistency of self-love and self-care, right? Because how often can we be selfish in our pursuit of self-care and self-love without seeming self-centered in others, appearing as if we're neglecting their needs and their desires and their wants? Should that be on a daily basis? We just take an hour for ourselves? Should it be weekly and we should just pursue it? Like, what is the quantity and consistency of pursuing self-care and self-love.
So I think that's based on you and your life.
A relative thing.
You know what I mean? I don't have babies. You know, that could stop you from being able to do it on a consistent basis. They need you a little bit more. You know what I mean? But I try to at least do once a week. Good. If not twice a week.
Okay.
Whatever that may mean. You know what I mean? Again, like I said, laying in a dark room, journaling, something, I'm a creative, so I like to do things. So that might mean I'm doing an affirmation board, or, I'm creating something, whatever that looks like. So I think that's based on balance too. Like, for instance, when you have children, they always want. They don't know any boundaries, and they don't know.
Human leeches.
Yeah. Broke best friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so when you begin to establish boundaries even with them, then they know they're going to, respect it when you're consistent, and then they're going to probably, hopefully, if you're leading by example, then they're going to know what boundaries look like. And, I need that. I need to do that. So, again, I like to do it weekly. Yeah. More than that if possible. But, yeah, I think it's based on the balance. Yeah. I went out with you yesterday, or we did this, last week. This week is going to be about me. And if they're not receptive to that, whoever they may be, right, then now they're being selfish.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. I agree. I think as often as we need it, and as frequent as it feels good to us, and we still are able to handle whatever else we have going on. I know at work, I feel like I'm around people all the time. We're around people, right? We're around our family when we wake up and when we go to bed. We go to work, we're around people. Even though we're in our cars alone, we're in traffic amongst people. Yeah. Like, and when I'm at work and my coworker's like, oh, what are you doing? I was like, I'm trying to have my hour lunch break to myself. I don't want to talk. But they'll come and ask questions because they see you at your desk. So I get my keys, I leave the building, and I will sit in my car. I just need a moment away from folks. Don't ask me anything. Don't talk to me about anything. Yeah. And I think that's important because when we start healing and doing the work and paying attention to how we respond and how we show up and how we see ourselves, it's a trickle-down effect. I believe it contributes to a positive interaction with our children, with our significant others, with our parents, with our siblings, with our friends. Because when we respond in a way that's unhealthy because we haven't taken the time to work on ourselves, it impacts everybody around us. And passive aggressiveness is one of the biggest killers of joy to me. It's like when you're acting like you're okay and you're clearly not, and we're all feeling the wrath of you, that's never good for anybody.
So passive aggressiveness comes to, I think, when we don't know how to communicate effectively. So our defense is, I'm just going to hold it. If I don't say anything, even though it's written all over my face, then that's how I'm dealing with it. I didn't yell at you. I didn't, violate you. But I know something's wrong. That's unhealthy. Very. Coping mechanism, right? Because we don't know how to communicate. Or we might not want to. Yes. You know what I mean? Having a conversation with someone about something may put you in the seat where now you got to do some work too, because this is a two-way street. So if you address it, be prepared. What's the resolve you want at the end of it? Right. You know?
And it's also an inaction too. Like I think of, love you sis, but I'm going to use her as an example. We had a little, sibling get together, and one of my sisters was feeling away. But rather than express it, she just came, she was doing this on her phone, didn't really engage and interact. And to me, that was a sign of being passive aggressive. You was feeling something inside that was upsetting you and hurting you. But rather than talk to it amongst a group that you should feel safe with, you really just isolated yourself amongst the crowd and didn't really open up to us. And I think that is frustrating for me because it's like, I'm a talker, I'm a communicator. If I'm upset, I'm going to express it, but it doesn't always come out in the best way. Yeah. And therapy has taught me to take a pause, think about how I'm saying it, because it's never what we say, is how we say it, right? And I think that was, one of the most important mechanisms I learned for communicating. It's just feeling how you're going to feel, but express it in a way that others aren't necessarily going to feel worse because of it.
Right. Yeah. So you grow, right? You see your growth from therapy. You see it, right? But others might not see it in the time you see it. right? And they're so used to your response being judgmental or harsh or
Opinionated.
yelling or whatever. So the person who may be being passive aggressive or is not as open to talk to you is it expecting the response that you normally give. They don't know that this new Vi or this new Shay is gonna take a moment, maybe not even say anything, maybe just let you vent, right? I had to learn that. I was so, let me resolve it, or let me tell you what you need to do. And even still, I have to say to myself, okay, don't say anything. One of my sisters said, never miss an opportunity to shut up. And it runs in my mind all the time. So now, I don't miss one opportunity, until it's, I need you. Like, now I need you to respond. But they're so used to 40 years of me going, what?
Right.
That now, when I'm talking, like, they're not expecting it. So that takes time to unprogram somebody to know how to interact with us.
Totally.
And they're not going to see it in the time that we see it.
Do you ever promote therapy amongst the people you love? I mean, because you said I recommended it to you, right? But is that, like, establishing a boundary? Like, just because it's working for me, do I go on my soapbox and sing it to the world, or do I let people find their own
sing it to the world.
Okay.
Therapy, I've been here 43 years. My whole 43 years on this earth, therapy is one decision that was the best decision of my life. And I wish I would have pursued it earlier. I wish I would have pursued it in my teenage years or even my 20s. It would have saved me so much. The direction of my life would have been different. Yeah. But it is what it is, and I know now. But I tell everybody. Everybody, you need to go to therapy. I don't know. For me, it might be other therapeutic ways. People do massages, or people,
meditate.
Go to, something I want to try is that Reiki therapy.
Yes.
So that could be for them. And even if therapy in its formal setting, you sitting on a couch with someone isn't working, do something.
Read self-help books. Watch,
do something. But I say go to someone who went to school and is trained.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Not your BFF.
No, not your BFF,
Right.
Even though you can still vent to them. You know
Absolutely,
what I mean?
But they shouldn't be used as your therapist. No.
It's not fair to you because you're going to get biased, or you might get a wrong tone or even a wrong direction because they only basing it on their life experience.
Absolutely.
So no, I say go get you somebody that's neutral, that's trained, and they'll work it out.
I agree. I promote it amongst people I know. Like you say, I'm so glad you decided to pursue it, and I'm grateful that I was able to help kickstart for you. I've been family group chats, and when I know somebody going through something and they may not speak about it, or when the group chat getting a little heavy and I know somebody in their feelings, or my therapist gave me a list of therapists, black therapists, and I plop that shit right in the group chat, just like, hey, call around, see who accepted openings, and not being funny or not calling anybody out, but I want this to be a resource for everybody, and I know anybody could really benefit from it, but I'm so sensitive about our black men getting it, because I think even more so for us, they struggle. But they just make it look good, like the gentleman said, and they just mask it.
Absolutely.
And they put on their cologne and their good clothes and get the fresh cut and, and the ties, and it's just like, you're so damn, like tape is holding your soul together.
So that's that surface. That's why I said it's levels. Yeah. Right? My appearance looks good. I'm presenting well. Exactly. Right? I love myself enough to get a haircut and to get dressed and to do whatever, but the deep is the mental. What are we telling ourselves? Self-reflection, self-accountability.
Ooh, I like that. I like that you brought it.
Be accountable too for the things that you may have contributed, right, to your life experience not being the best.
Come on, somebody.
So all of that's why I say is levels. What level of self-love are you at? And masking it physically is a temporary fix. I look good now, but then when I go home and I turn the light out and I get into bed, what's going? Yes. This right here. What you fed this? What is this giving you back that you put in? Yeah. What did you do today? I say to my kids all the time, what'd you do for you today? Love it. What'd you do for you today? I say it to myself. What'd you do for you today? huge self-negative.
Outside of your regular routine, showering, brushing your teeth.
What did you take a moment? I don't care if it's coloring, doing an extra math question that you didn't like, making a bracelet, writing yourself a note, anything. What did you do outside of what you had to do today?
Yes.
What did you take a moment and say, I'm going to do this for myself?
I love that. And I am of the belief that every day we should wake up and do something for us.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, no matter what it is, whether it's standing in the mirror, telling yourself how beautiful you are, whether it's listening to a song that makes you feel amazing inside, whether it's writing a poem on a dream you may have had or a crush you may have seen, or anything, because we get up and do things for so many people, right? We go to school because that's what we're expected to do. We go to work because we have to get money to pay the bills, you know? We engage and interact with people because that's just what society calls for. But we have to do something for us. And I'll tell you, like, Valentine's Day, Violatine's Day is coming.
Yes, it is.
My favorite day of the year, right, Shay?
Yeah.
So as y'all know, like, I'm just a lover at heart. I love it. And I used to get so frustrated because my partner at the time was not into it the way that I was into it. And it would leave me feeling like shit. Feeling like shit. And it wasn't until after I started going to therapy that I began to realize that Valentine's Day doesn't have to be external. It could be what I pour into myself. And in 2019, aka 2019, I really started to be like, I'm going to take the power back. And Valentine's Day is Violatine's Day. And I don't give a shit if my partner celebrates with me or not. I'm going to do this for myself because I love the day. From January, I will go to stores and walk around the aisles because I get joy just from looking at all of Valentine's Day decor. I enjoy going to the movies, so I would find a movie to watch. I even started getting all the single ladies in my circle who may be feeling bad because their man ain't sending them roses or they're not getting gifts and they're not going on a date. Bitches, let's go. Let's go.
Right.
And I started a Valentine's Day thing, and it's been so well received. Now, every year, women who don't normally feel that love and fulfillment get to focus on the joy and the self-love and the self-care.
Yeah.
And I just love that for me, and I love that for them, and I love that for us, because we can't always look at what we don't have. Sometimes we got to look at what we can give ourselves.
Right. And look at the love that's around you. Who says that Valentine's Day has to be with your man?
Amen.
It's a day of love.
It's a day
I
of
love
love.
you celebrate, and let's go. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be, oh, my man got to take me out on a date.
Right.
No, I'm with my girls, and they love me. They love me too. They love me unconditionally, so let me go hang with them.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
What is one of your favorite self-care, self-love routines or acts?
Oh, so I have quite a few. Well, my biggest thing is journaling, right? I love to journal because journaling helps me get my thoughts out my head. It helps unclutter the space.
Okay.
So I think that, and it helps me to read and see what I can resolve or what I may need to work on, or let me ask my therapist about that. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things. I love candles, right? Candles are...
I lit one for you because I
they're
really
the most,
like it.
Listen, from the smell to the flicker of the flame, it just does something to my soul. I just love candles. I need candles in every room of my house. I need milk, eggs. I need candles all the time. Ladies' time. I love getting dressed up and going out. I love a vibe. You know, I love a good kiki with the ladies. You know, that type of stuff. So dancing. I'll turn music on in the house and make my dining room a dance floor in a minute. It's not a dance floor I don't turn down. I don't care who there and who watching.
Right.
You know? So those little things I think are good self-care things. Of course, you know, I go get my nails done. I'll take that time. One of my goals for self-care, I've never taken myself on a date.
Oh, really?
I've never taken myself to dinner. I'm not much of a movie kind of person, but... and so I said this year I'm gonna take myself on a date. Take me out to dinner.
I love it.
So yeah.
I like that. I go out to you all the time. I do. So I love that you're doing that. And one thing I also do besides like a dinner date with myself is that when I just feel like I want alone time, because I don't live alone, it's easier for me to remove myself to personal space than to kick all my people out my house.
Yes.
I will go rent a hotel room. I will go rent a hotel room. One time I did this, one Valentine's Day actually. I knew there was nothing planned for me and I didn't give a shit. So I drove my ass to Jersey. I got a hotel room. I ordered takeout. I watched some movies on Netflix, and I literally enjoyed the hotel room by myself. Had the phone on silent, only responded when I needed to or when I wanted to, and literally spent the night there.
Goals.
Goals.
Goals,
And
baby.
what? Now that I'm a Marriott mommy, honey, that discount be coming.
I'm about to call you for the discount, baby. Goals.
Seriously.
I love that.
I enjoy that so much.
I love that. That's dope.
Because how many people are thinking about let me go to the hotel? That's actually what I'm thinking about doing for Valentine's Day. Get me a room, find a hotel with a jacuzzi, getting a book I haven't read, and sitting in the jacuzzi with some wine.
I love that.
Chocolate covered strawberries, and literally read my book.
Awesome.
Leave me alone.
I love that. That's goals.
Yes.
Yes.
So, okay, so I love that. So, folks, find a routine that works for you, something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I worked out more.
The workout roller coaster.
Yeah.
Right? So, I'm a foodie. More so a snacker. I love sweets in every way. I'll skip a meal and say, I'm going to eat this whole sleeve of Oreos as a replacement. And sometimes I got the motivation and I'll be in there and I've lost. I've had results.
You've done good.
And then here I am right now today, right back where I started. So, trying to get that motivation is hard.
But being kind to yourself, right? And I be stuck. I ain't gonna lie, Shay.
Okay.
Y'all can tell I'm a fluffy girl, right? I be thinking like, before I lose any weight, does anybody like me a little chubby? But I literally am stuck between Viola, get your life together, and you only live once. Eat what you want. Like, it's so hard to find that balance.
It is. So that's that negative self-talk. I am working. I'm a huge negative self-talker. When I look in the mirror, the initial thing is all the flaws about me. All the flaws. You know, look at the gray hair, look at this, look at that. Even things in my mind, right?
Gotcha.
So my therapist has me working on that. And I'm doing really good.
Yeah.
I go from either giving myself positive self-talk to just looking in the mirror and never missing an opportunity to shut up.
I love it. Let's circle back to that.
You know what I mean? So I'm working on that. So that kind of stuff, I'm like, okay, when I look in the mirror, that's why I'm big on affirmations. I have them all over my little dressing room. Like, I have a little tape in the car, like, constantly reminding myself.
So that's good. You read them. Yeah, don't just post them.
I do. And so now I'm like you, like, I'm fat again. You know, you big again, girl. What you gonna do? The legs is rubbing, you know. So.
And there's somebody looking at you right now, or when they do
this,
like,
good.
And she don't shut her petite ass up. But it's how we see
Black
ourselves,
make you
right?
look skinny and I'm sitting down.
It's how we perceive ourselves.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what people think externally. We have to care.
Yeah. So weight loss is a journey. You know, in and of itself. Aside from self-care and self-love like that, for me, is a separate thing. You know?
Right.
But I'm thinking about it now, and I find myself weighing myself more often. You had 3 Pepsis this week. I know. Go check that scale. So, hoping to get motivated again, though, because I did feel so much better.
Yeah.
You know, I really did. So.
I don't like being thin. I just want certain parts of me to be going, because we all have those areas. But I think you look amazing.
Thank you.
You have to feel it, right?
You do, right?
So thank you.
You do.
But,
you do.
Right, but we have to feel it, right?
Yeah.
And we do.
Yeah.
But just working out is not something that I enjoy.
Not my forte.
Don't look forward
And if I'm going to do it, I can't do it with a partner. I have to do it alone. Right? I got to look ugly and sweat and look a mess and look at all my cellulite all by myself. I don't need nobody watching. You know what I mean? And it's something that I like to do as soon as my eyes open, because it's a chore.
Oh, so you're early.
So let me just get in, get it out the way, and be done for the day.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay, so because I prefer to definitely do it later on in the day.
Yeah, you can forget
That's
that.
hilarious.
If I come home, it's over. I done dealt with too many people today.
So funny, because my longest stint in the gym was probably like 8 weeks, and only because I was visually satisfied by a gentleman who used to work out in the gym and do this one specific exercise, and to the point where I knew what time he went to the gym, so I went to the gym at that same time, because watching him get it in motivated me to get it in, and that's when I lost the most weight in my life.
Look at that.
So
people inspire you in ways they don't even know.
They don't even fucking know.
Yeah.
I was checking that out. I was like, let's go. If he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
So that's really good. Have you Do you feel like when you self-reflect on your therapy journey, and I think we can deduce through your answer, but would you definitely say it has accomplished what you wanted it to accomplish?
So far, yes.
Okay.
My highest goal is literally to have my mind on a consistent level of peace. Ooh. Whether it's daily or just in general. Like peace with whatever may come, things that I can't control, and how to cope with those things. That's what therapy is about. Like she told me, we can't bulldoze all your problems now and not expect the next day, 6 months from now, a year from now, another set of problems are going to come. So I'm teaching you how to cope in general.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So my highest goal is to be at peace and not be so I try to control everything, you know, and she said that's a defense mechanism, right? You try to control everything, because you don't know how to be when you don't have control. Right. You know. So yes, my highest goal I would say with therapy is peace, and I'm not quite there yet.
Do I still have goals for therapy? I think I really just enjoy going or having my meetings and being able to talk about what I may be experiencing or what I experienced during those, off times in between sessions, and then talking those through. I didn't share my biggest aha moment with therapy, and that was learning how what I experienced as a child impacts how I think, how I receive, and how I interact to this day.
Yes.
I had no freaking clue that childhood abandonment and neglect has contributed to how I engage with my partner, to how I raise my kids, to how I receive criticism. I just was like, whoa.
Childhood is your foundation.
Totally.
When you stray, you always gonna go back to the foundation. You know? And so that is a struggle, right? We've been learning how to cope and survive, for me, for 40 years. So even though I try to go to everything with this good intention and this direction she gave me, I'm going to revert back. And I might have a moment where I'm impulsive. And I'm going to call you and curse at you. And I'm going to, but yes, because that is what we learn. We parent how we were parented.
Right.
But I think we're breaking those generational curses. Yes. I'll never forget when my daughter said, "You go to therapy?" Like, she thought, oh my God, my mom.
She knew what it was?
Well, you know what kids would think
of
it
is,
right? So she was like, are you okay? Like, she was really concerned. So now I think it's just so tough. Like, oh, I got an appointment, or I got a meeting or whatever. Now it's like, okay, I want to make that be like, oh, I got a dentist appointment today.
Exactly.
Or I'm going to hang with the ladies. Or, I want them to implement that.
Yes.
But your children too, right? So I think at a certain age, there's a level of receptiveness and openness they're gonna give. Yeah. So once they're old enough to be receptive, to do the work, and to really be able to articulate, I want to introduce that.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I definitely want to introduce that. Even if there's no major things, you can just go to her and say, today at school, I got a 50 on the test, and I really was studying the littlest things. Sometimes my sessions are literally nothing in the journey.
Right.
Just work and just general conversation.
I love how you brought up even a child struggling with academics, right? Because even though we're doing the work, I'm still showing up as your mom. I still have expectations. Whereas when you come in and you tell me you got a 50, I'm like, what do you mean you got a 50? Get off the game. Don't do this. Don't do that. You're not focused. Because the mom in me is like, no, your job is to get good grades, whereas the therapist is going to dig deeper. Well, what were you thinking about? Did you have a mental block? What were you experiencing? Do you have a little anxiety? And it's like, we should be able to have dual roles. We should be able to be the mom and the therapist. But the reality of that is just we can't be everything to everybody.
Exactly. But once we learn, though, how to cope and interact with those things, like struggle at the grades, right?
Respond differently.
That was my thing. Like, what do you mean? What are you doing? Like, get off, because you're on that damn phone all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Blame it on everything.
Right? You need more effort. And so now it's like, okay, you go get some index cards, I'm going to help you. Because maybe you are anxious. Let's see. Let's change it. I'm trying to be better. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's our initial reaction. And that's the way we was parented.
Right.
You're out here, all them damn songs. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that could very well well not be the case. Like, I really tried. I'm not getting math. I don't get, social stuff. Like, I'm giving my best.
Yes.
I'm just not the best academically.
And that is true too.
Yeah.
And that's acceptance, right? And there is this expectation that we have to go to school and perform well. But I truly believe that academics just isn't something for everybody.
Yeah.
I think it stifles those who are creative by nature.
Absolutely.
What if I just want to draw and I'm an artist and I'm a dreamer and a thinker?
The different sides of the brain are more prominent than the other. Yes.
Yeah. So just being able to even help them balance the expectation versus the desires
and you have to get a high school diploma in my house.
Now,
what we do after that is up for discussion, but I'm gonna need you to figure this out because
I agree.
You gotta graduate high school.
I agree.
So,
and I'm trying not, to me, anything below an 80 is failing. And I'm trying not to be hard on my children because I also know that boys can be a little different from girls. When my daughter was a straight A student, 90s, no worries, baby girl, you did great. And then the boys coming home, what do you mean you got 75? How you an athlete and you got a 72 in gym? What ain't work? Like, it got to make sense to me. So I do have high expectations when it comes to academics. But I had to talk with my therapist too and I have to watch how I respond because I don't want to add to the anxiety and the frustration that they need.
And you don't want them to be ripping up tests.
Right. Or trying to beat you home so they could get the internal.
Yep, all of that. Well, everything's electronic now, so they don't have it like we have it. But
I don't even go on electronic, so if they wanted to get the paper, I would ask though.
You was late. I need you to know I'm showing up.
Tell us a lot.
You was late for social studies today? How you know? Because I want you to know I'm watching. So yeah, definitely. Yes. And I think for older children too, they're overachievers. Right?
I mean the oldest of the clan.
The oldest of the clan. So of course they're gonna get good grades.
That's true. I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah, and I think as parents, the oldest get it the worst. They're the guinea pigs of how we're gonna parent. They're gonna get all our mistakes, all of that. Then by the time we get to the second, third, the fourth,
we lose a little steam.
I'm running out. Just
pass.
Just get a 70. Come on,
right.
That's cool.
That is true. Terry Ann and I touched upon that in our parenting segment. Just we're different as our children, come along in different stages. But one thing I did when we were talking about just like going to therapy and how you had to, basically ease in what you were comfortable speaking about, I think about how I didn't trust my therapist for a long time. At no fault to her, but just in me having trust issues. And there were certain things that I was embarrassed or felt ashamed to speak on, and it just felt like it was too vulnerable. Excuse me. So I wouldn't say it, and then one time I was like, can I say something to you? And I don't want to be judged. She was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is the space.
This is what we've been doing. What are you doing?
But I also, too, let's speak on the fact that some people can have I had a friend, too. I have a friend. I shouldn't say had. I have a friend who's been in therapy with the same therapist for so long that she said it was no longer therapeutic. She started to feel like it was a friendship. She coming in for her session and the therapist telling her about how her day went and the problem with her. And it could easily become that because you build a comfort. So how does someone who maybe and this is just us being, we're both college educated, we're both thinkers, and if someone is experiencing that, how would you handle that? If you get to the point where you and your therapist are starting to feel too chummy and you're not getting the therapeutic sessions you once did?
So I think every dynamics has boundaries. Even when you're being vulnerable with your therapist, even when you're sharing so much, the moment they share, so my therapist has shared things with me to be relatable and for a level of understanding, but never just introducing her own situations or problems if it's not relevant to what we're talking about.
Right.
You know what I mean? So once it gets there, now you're crossing my boundaries. So now I either have to let you know that, first of all, so that maybe we can reset. And then if it's not a reset, then I'm going to need to Google and get some.
How do you begin that conversation? Like, how do you come in and tell your therapist, I don't want to hear about your...
Well, I think it's, again, how you communicate, right? You learn how to communicate. So I think I would come in and I would say it. I would say, I appreciate when I'm having a conversation with you and you give me situations that are relatable and you understand. But I find that you will initiate something that I'm not... You're here to kind of work for me. So you're telling me something that's not in my journal. We didn't talk about it last time.
Right.
So I really don't, now in the beginning of therapy, we'll have the small talk. How was your weekend? What did you do?
Ease in.
Right. So in that instance, if you're introducing something then that's different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if we're in the middle of a conversation or you take over my therapy session and talk about you, that's a boundary issue. And it's unprofessional, I think. So
yes.
Either I'm going to tell you because we need a reset, or I'm going to start needing to find another therapist.
Yeah.
Because maybe, that you need more of a challenge.
Right. That's true. And just maybe less of that familiarity and comfort could actually do some good. I know it's almost like what's needed to jumpstart and jump kick, but when it becomes too comfortable, it might be time to be like, hey, all right, we either got to redirect or thank you for all your serious service.
Because that lets me know you're distracted in my sessions.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about what I'm talking about or what stay focused on me.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Or if you do bring up something and you initiate it, let it be relevant to, last week or last month, or I'm looking through my notes, something like that. First of all, how did you resolve that? Is that resolved? Why? Because X, Y, and Z happened to me. Like, you need to make sure that it's relevant to what I got going on.
Yeah. So, have you ever been in a session where there was something that was just weighing heavy on your heart and you just didn't feel comfortable talking about it?
Yes. And in one of it, I ripped the Band-Aid off, right? And it was so funny because it was like, oh, okay, that's not. And I was like, ooh, it's not? That's not nothing. My hesitation, my reservation, like, I'm not going to wait. And then when I told her, it was like, that's normal. I can understand that. I can see that.
I love it. The validation that you would get from there because they see people of all walks of life at different stages of their walks, and just to be able to validate that what you're going through, what you're experiencing, is completely normal, is totally acceptable. I think that's my biggest takeaway, the biggest piece of it. And I get sad. You know what I think about? It's fucked up. No, but I think about what happens if I wake up one day and my therapist is no longer able to see me. What do I do? I don't want to start over with someone.
So what I probably would do, wow, you gave me a thought. So what I probably would do to continue my journey until I can get somebody is remember everything she told me, right? And just hurry up and close that gap, because she can't be going, I can't go without too long, right? But just continue to do the things that foundation. Yeah. Continue to use that foundation and you'll stay on track, but get right back in therapy. Yeah. Don't let too much time lapse.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you don't use it, you'll lose it.
Okay. So I think our time is winding down. I think we should make, though, is there any other points that you may have thought of that we weren't able to touch on?
No, we kind of touched on everything.
I think so,
the ultimate thing is knowing that self-love is the source of all love.
I love it. I love that. Yeah. Because like you said, we can't give what we don't have.
Nope. And we're only going to give on a level that we know.
Yes. I love it, Shay. And you're rocking a love bracelet.
Yes.
I totally enjoy that. It's too cute. Guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed this session. What I really hope is that you were able to listen and take away something, anything, and know that therapy isn't a topic that you should shy away from. It's something that you should totally embrace. Everybody who is living and breathing is going through something, is experiencing something, is having maybe some type of internal conflict. It's just the reality of the world we live in. And whether it be external or internal, we all are having challenges. And don't be afraid to do what you got to do to take care of yourself. If it means embracing something that you're uncomfortable with, if it means walking away from something that no longer adds value or no longer makes you feel good or bring you joy or bring you love, whatever that may be, feel free to pursue it. You are looking at two amazing people who have started a journey that we do not want to veer away from. And it has been one of the best experiences of our lives. So, Max, final words, you good?
That's
you
it.
Said it?
Just love yourself.
Love yourself. And we really thank y'all for tuning in because y'all could have been anywhere in the world today, but y'all chose to be here with us. Thank you. Take care. Be well. Stay healthy. And know that Mrs. Lips got mad love for you.